So when your computer's turned off, you're going to turn it on, and you're going to have to press the key to enter into the BIOS boot menu. I'm working on an HP laptop here, so my key is F9. So when you hit the power key, you're going to need to repeatedly tap this key to make sure that you get it at the right time. It's usually a small window of opportunity there to get it. So I'm going to just tap on the F9 key, and I'll be presented with this. You should have something similar. Now, if you're on an EFI system, that's great. Make sure you choose the USB drive UEFI and hit enter. So you're going to use your up and down key and then hit enter when you select the correct device. And this is going to let us boot off of the hard disk. So click Try Ubuntu, and then just wait for it to start up. It should be relatively quick. And there we go. We're now booted into Ubuntu. So select the, double-click the Install Ubuntu icon on the desktop. And when it opens the installer, select your language. And when you're ready, hit continue. You're going to want to connect to a Wi-Fi network unless you're connected through Ethernet. I've already connected to a network, so I'm not going to do this. But connect to your network so that you can download updates while installing, and you can get the most fresh packages from the repositories. And hit continue. You're going to see these big check marks telling us that we're all good to go. You're also going to want to check download updates while installing, and also install third-party software. And I've already got these checked. You want to make sure they're checked. If they're not checked, check them. You don't need to install third-party software. All this allows is for playing MP3 files and other proprietary file types. So when you're ready here, hit continue. And this next bit is going to take a little bit because it's scanning our hard drive. So when you see this screen, it's going to prompt you to install Ubuntu alongside Windows. We're not going to do that. We're going to manage the partitions by ourselves manually, and that's going to give us a little bit more control. So select something else at the bottom, and then hit continue. Now it's going to scan the disk again, and you're going to see something entirely different here. All right, this is our Windows partition. We can tell by first it's formatted as NTFS, and also the size of the drive. This is my free space. What you're going to want to do is right-click on the NTFS file system. Hold on a second, I just got to remove this two-finger scroll. There we go, much better. This is the EFI partition. We're going to focus on the Windows partition right now. You're going to need to shrink this and in order to get the free space. So click on this and click Change down at the bottom. And you're going to just reduce the size of this. Windows does take up quite a bit of space and the applications on it, so I recommend leaving this relatively high. I've got about 500 gigabytes that I use for my Windows partition, and I find that's comfortable. So once you've done this, hit OK, and you're going to see the disk rescan, and it's going to show you that you've now got free space after your Windows partition. So we now need to set up a few partitions. So click the free space and the plus sign. And the first partition we're going to be creating is a swap area, which acts sort of like RAM, but on the hard disk. So in the size of the swap area, you're going to want to make it about double the amount of RAM that you've got. And when it refreshes here, we see our swap area we just created with the free space after it. So now we're good to create our main partition for the installation of Ubuntu. So make sure you use ext4 journaling file system and set the mount point to a / and hit OK. And basically the / just means the entire operating system, the home directories, applications, configurations, they're all going to be installed to this partition. Now, Linux gives us a little bit more flexibility that we're not going to really go in depth with right now, but you are able to create two different partitions, one for the / the main partition, and then you can also create another one, set the mount point to / home, and that's going to mean that all your user directories are stored on that partition. And this makes sense for upgrading and installing different versions of Linux, because the home directory will always stay intact. You won't need to format it every time you install Linux, and you can install Linux over the root partition. So now that we're set up here, we're basically good to go. The device for the bootloader is important. If you're not running an EFI system, you need to leave this to dev/SDA. And what that means is that the bootloader is going to be written to the very first sectors of the hard disk, which is where non-EFI hard drives store their bootloaders with Windows. So it will replace the Windows partition or the Windows bootloader and replace it with grub, which is the Linux bootloader, but it will also give you an option through that installation of the bootloader to boot into Windows. Every time you boot up your computer, you're going to see boot into Linux or boot into Windows. All right, now I'm working with an EFI hard disk, and hopefully you are too. Every computer released in the last few years are now EFI. And EFI is great. It's a way where you can better manage dual and tri booting different installations or operating systems on your hard disk. And what this does is, if you've got an EFI partition, as you can notice, mine selected in the area above is SDA2, but the type is EFI, and system says Windows Boot Manager. All right. Where we're using an EFI disk, we are going to install the EFI files for the bootloader on the existing EFI partition, which is SDA2. So when we're already here, you can now click Install Now. It's going to tell you that it's going to make these changes and they're going to be permanent, and you may lose data if you've done something wrong. So please make sure you do this all correctly. It will leave your Windows partition intact because you're not formatting it, you're just shrinking it, and you're creating a couple new partitions. So when you review these changes, hit continue, and it's going to install the operating system now to our hard disk. And the installation procedure is exactly the same as it was in VirtualBox. So you're going to choose your location or your time zone first. So here we're going to select our keyboard layout. I am English US keyboard layout. So I'm just going to leave it and hit continue. And here we're going to create our user account. So I'm going to name my computer Voltron and username and password. And you do have a few options also to log in automatically or require your password. You can set this however you want. I like to require my password to log in. So just hit continue, and now you're presented with this beautiful slideshow of everything Ubuntu can do. Not everything, but a few things. And we're going to dive into more of these things in the future. But for right now, I'm going to pause this recording, and I'll be back after it installs because it does take about 10 to 15 minutes. So when it's done, you should see a prompt like this. and it should tell you that the installation has been a success and you're now free to either continue testing on the USB drive or restart now. You can do whatever you'd like. Just if you're going to continue testing, the way you reboot is in the top right hand corner. Select the gear icon and then select shutdown. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. In this video, we're finally going to get to the command line, and I'm really excited about that because this is probably the key aspect to Linux that you're going to need to learn. It's great to have a bit of background knowledge and how to install the system, but those are the very small and insignificant in comparison to how much you'll be working with the command line. So to open up the command line, we use a program called Terminal, and you can access this in the Applications menu by typing Terminal, or you can hit Control, Alt, and T on your keyboard, and it will launch Terminal. So here is Terminal, and we're going to talk about just a few commands today. The first one is going to be pwd, and what pwd does is it prints working directory. So if I type it here, it's going to list the current directory that I'm in, which is /home/nic. This is my user directory. This is the default location that you'll be in. The second command that we need to talk about is cd, or change directory. So this allows us to basically change which working directory we're in. Now, I can type user share, for instance. That's going to take me to the user share directory, and I'm going to show you guys here in the file manager what this looks like. If I click computer here, it's going to take me to the root, signified by a /. So when you're changing directory, if the first character after cd is a /, that means it's going to be an absolute path from the beginning of the hard disk or from the root directory. So here I could change directory into sbin, or I could cd into home again. And in home, we've got a directory called nic. So how to change directory with a relative path is you just omit the /, and this will basically tell it to change directory from whatever directory I'm in to the next level, which is nic. And I end up here. So again, you can change directory into an absolute path by setting the / to the first character, and we can see this is where I'm in. And then you can change directory with a relative path by not putting the /. Now additionally, another symbol in Linux is a period and a /. And what these two character combinations mean is in the current directory. So if I remove lib here, if I just change directory into the current directory that I'm in, I will stay in the same directory. Now I can type cd lib with the period and /, and that's going to send me into the current directory's next level directory called lib. So I'm going to cd back into home/nic. Now I could type it out like this, and this is about 10 characters, but let's say I was really lazy. You can use the tilde. And that's basically, that's the key to the left of the number 1 key on the top of your keyboard. You need to hold shift and press that. It's the key directly under the escape key. This is a tilde, and this basically means home. So it's going to take you to your home directory, which is unique for each user. For instance, my home directory, as we can see up here at the top, is /home /nic, because this is my username. So we can use this a bit and put a different spin on it. Let's say I'm in user/share/applications. Where I am right now is in this directory. We can type pwd to see the directory that we're in. If I want to go directly to home/nic, I can type cd tilde. But if I want to go to home/nic/documents, I can still use the tilde followed by a // followed by documents. And this is going to put me into home/nic/documents. Now this is all fun, but what's the point of navigating a file system if you really can't do anything? And so that's our next command that we're going to learn. So I'm going to change directory to home, to my home directory. Let's say you want to go up a level. So remember how changing directory with // means current directory. If you put 2 periods and a // that means 1 level up. So the parent directory. So right now I'm in home/nic. If I type cd // and hit enter, it's going to put me into the home directory. I can type pwd and see that I'm in home. So again, cd tilde is going to move you to your home directory. // means current directory, so you can type a relative path from that. // means the root of the directory, and this means that you're going to be giving the cd command a very absolute path. So I can type / user share, as this is a file path directly from the root of the hard disk. And // means go up 1 level. So I'm going to change directory into my home directory. And now the next command we're going to use is ls. And what that does is it lists the contents of whatever directory you're in. So here's my home directory. Here's what it looks like in the files and folders in it. If I type pwd to make sure I'm in my home directory, I can type ls, and that's going to list all of the contents of this directory in alphabetical order. Now, ls is a big command, and there's many options that you can throw into it, but we're going to focus on a few. File permissions in Linux are very important. They define who can do what to what file. So for instance, the a.out file that you see there is a binary file from a C++ program that I wrote. That belongs to me. That means I can run it. How do we know that belongs to me? We can use the ls command, separated by a space, a dash, and the letter L. Now, the -L argument that we're passing it means that we're going to list it in a long way, so we're going to get some more information. The left column is the permissions of a file. So owner, user, group. We're not going to get into permissions right now, but ls-l does list them. It lists the owner's user account and also the corresponding group. So when you create a user in Linux, it also creates a group, at least during the main installation, and the group's name is the same as the username. And it also shows the date modified and stuff. Now, what if we actually wanted to list a directory based on some other things? So if we wanted to list it in reverse order, let's say. We can type ls-r, and it's going to list it in reverse alphabetical order. If we want to define file types when we list, we can type ls-p. And we see that a directory is followed by the /. Now, also there are color codings, so we can tell that directories are blue and other files are generally white. The a.out is a binary file, and so it's green. We can also sort based on file size. And now, what we've been doing so far is listing contents of the current directory we're in. Now, that's cool, because if I wanted to see every file that was in applications directory, I would change directory to user share applications, and once there, I would type ls. And this is going to show me all of the files and directories within this path. Now, this works, but let's say I didn't want to leave my home directory to list the applications directory. You can actually pass an argument after ls of the path that you want to list, and it will do it. Now, here's a bonus command for the terminal. It's clear. And what that does is it makes terminal a little less cluttered. So again, if I wanted to list files in home/documents, I can do that. Let's say I wanted to list them in reverse order. I can do that. So now you see that you can start stringing commands together, or at least the ls command. And if you're ever really lazy and you don't want to type the entire ls, you can just type l. So thanks for watching this video with me. We're going to recap here. We type cd to change into a directory. We type pwd to print the current directory that we're in, and we type ls to list all the contents of that directory. And there's a lot of options for ls. I've shown you a few. If you want more information, you can actually type ls --help. And this is going to provide you with all of the options that you can run with the command, as well as an explanation of what they do. So thanks for watching this video. In the next video, we're going to be going through some more command line stuff. We're going to be doing command line for a little bit.